Hello everyone, with the Guild Mimic event popping up tomorrow, I figured what a better time than to go over what I consider some of the best heroes inside the game to use against these mimics. Now clearly there is a ton of different ways you can go at this, and we're all not sitting on 20 stars, and we only get one shot at it when going up against a mimic, so this makes it very difficult for the testing, but still there's some key points for each one of these mimics and some good heroes to counter with them. So when it comes to the purple mimic, this is going to be 2 up front, 1 in each corner, and then 3 chests sitting in the back. And if you haven't tried it yet, give Lagoo a shot. Lagoo, however you want to pronounce it there. This is a solid hero to take care of those first 2 enemies. But we still have 3 chests in the back, so how do we deal with these ones? Well, Adina and Galan are both good heroes to go and get kind of a back row hit on it there, either a freeze or a whirlwind. Either way, both of these heroes seem to do a good job. This is the only mimic out of the 3 that you can go and use crowd control on it, so use it to your advantage. Now, the big reason we want to CC against the purple mimic is they will get an additional 40% attack and an additional 80% defense when they restrain one of your heroes. Yes, they're going to be using CC on you, but that will be getting reset when you go and CC them. And if I didn't say it already, CC crowd control. Now, Lulu is great against all 3 of these mimics, so keep that in the back of your mind, but Dex is another one that can feed some energy. There's 2 heroes out front. Hitting both of those will give 40 energy to all adjacent allies. This is a great way to pop off those actives so you don't have to worry about them restraining you, or at least getting the buff from restraining you. It's a nice way to kind of keep everything under control. Another good hero to consider is Void. Void will remove crowd control from 2 of your allies. It's not going to necessarily take the buff away from the enemy because they need to be under crowd control, but this is a way to at least get that restraint off of you. Now, because there is 5 enemies out there, you might be thinking DOT is the way to go, Carmen, Sol, Benzo, where they are good and they can put up some decent numbers if they're strong enough. There's a pretty good chance that the enemy is going to be removing those debuffs after a turn. So you're not going to be really getting those huge numbers that you would expect, but if they are strong enough, you still could see good results. I myself am using Lilith, even though there's only 2 heroes and not 3 out front. The level of my Lilith and the hits behind it, I'm still able to get some decent damage out of her. And when I pair Lilith up with Lulu and Dex, it makes it even easier to keep those actives going. But as I said in the beginning, a lot of this depends on the strength and star of your heroes. So some of these heroes I listed here are still very low stars for me, so it's not really advisable for me to use them, especially when I have one hero 5 stars higher than the next. But the big thing to take away from this is knowing the skill set of this hero. Getting a CC on them will remove their buff. They're going to be restraining you, and they're going to be removing their own debuffs. When it comes to the blue mimic, a lot of the working around this is going to be based by if the enemy can dodge you. So that's where going in with a hero that can make sure you're laying those hits with accuracy, like Oleon or Aruru, are a great way to go. Now, where Oleon is a tanker and Aruru is a healer, you can kind of decide by the rest of your army which one of those 2 you want to throw in. I'm doing Oleon myself because it just seems to work well for me, but a lot of people going Rochelle out there in the run and then throwing Aruru seems to be a good combination too. I've also seen a lot of people use Taros on this. This is a solid one, which is going to be doing high attack to 2 enemies, which works out perfect because there's only 2 of them. And once again, even though it is only 2, I'm having really good results with Lilith. The Lulu Dexter combination is another great way to go just to keep things popping off on it too. But as I said, the big thing around this is preventing this enemy from dodging. And if you're able to cap that on it, it makes it so easy to score big points. When it comes to your red mimic, this one has 70% physical resistance. So all your heroes that are wearing strength gear or agility gear are going to be putting a fraction of what they would usually do for damage. Still for me, my Cayenne hits pretty hard being at 20 stars and maxed out, so I tend to use it, but wouldn't be ideal once I get some of these other heroes up to 20 stars. This mimic is also going to be stunning a lot, so you might be thinking to yourself, I'll just throw Olga out there, which is actually what I do. But in order for Olga to give that crowd control resistance to all your heroes, they have to be touching her, and this hero does a lot of splash damage. Meaning whatever hero it hits, it's going to be hitting the adjacent ones. So it may not be the best ideal thing to go for Olga if you do have a high startup Void. Once again, Void's going to remove crowd control from 2 heroes every single round. So formation for this one is you want to have a hero in the front left, a hero in the front right, and then the other 3 in the back. We don't really want to have them touching. It'll at least go for the ones in the front first. Another tricky thing about this Mimic is when they do their normal attack, they're going to gain an attack buff of 20% for 3 turns. So having heroes that can remove that buff is another great way to go. So both Coco and Peru have the ability to remove buffs from the enemy, so that's a great way to go. Fleta does have it too, but remember, Fleta is considered an agility hero, which does physical damage. Still though, if your Fleta is sitting at a high stars, you can still put out decent numbers. I see people running Sanders, Milia, even Ken, which are all agility based, and they're still putting up big chunks. And as I said before, physical resistance is huge on this one, so we gotta start looking at heroes that are gonna have that staff or intelligence gear. And this is where Benzel comes in huge for me. Even though Benzel is great at hitting, 5 heroes at once, even 1 is still good in the fact that we're not gonna have to worry about that physical resistance. Another great one to go for too is Carmen, and if you are able to get Carmen up to 11 stars, unlock the engraving and get that engraving up to level 20, then you want to slap her up front where she's going to be taking additional hits and increasing her attack percentage. Just keep in mind that having an intelligence style hero up front is going to require a healer, so definitely make sure you have a Void out there to pair with it. I mean, even a Selena isn't a bad way to go, but try to stay away from somebody like Almond where you need to have that grouping, because once again, we're going to have that splash damage. Lulu once again is a go on this one here, but stay away from using Dex. There is only 1 hero out there, so you're not going to get that much energy, and once again, it's a physical style hero. It doesn't matter who I talk to, everybody says they put up garbage numbers against this Red Mimic, and I wonder if a lot of that is just all of us being the type to invest into our dealers that are mainly in the strength class and agility class. Let's face it, majority of the intelligence class is healers, and there's very few out there that are doing decent damage besides the ones that we talked about. And then you factor in the other half of it, that this Mimic can't be CC'd, and a lot of the intelligence class also have a lot of those mixed into the skill set. Although I will say that Ashe is one that does fit both the staff intelligence gear and does actually have some decent damage behind it, but nobody's really building Ashe up inside the game, or at least getting it to the engraving to really utilize it. I tried it, the numbers were pretty much okay, but it wasn't anything spectacular like I was seeing from my Benzel. You could try using some crit resistance inside your runes, but the big thing that's going to help out on this is knowing how this Mimic attacks and the skill set behind it, which is going to be that reduction to physical damage, going and doing splash damage to you, and then getting that attack buff that we want to try to pull off of it. Either way, all 3 of these Mimics are going to probably revolve around you using some of your highest starred heroes, but this might be a good way to know, hey, if I get this one up a couple of stars, this might be a better chance to try out. And the fact that we only have 1 turn every single day that we can use on this, if all the Mimics are being summoned, it makes it incredibly difficult to get the numbers. But either way, this is how I'm viewing everything inside the game. This is what I'm trying to do. I may not be 100% right on it, but based by the information I see what other people are doing, this is what seems like the best way to go on it. But curious to know what you guys are using for an army against these Mimics here, and which ones are your highest damage dealers. Let us know in the comments below. If you want to know more about the legendary artifacts and what this one did for me, take a look at this video right here. Thanks for watching, and remember, I pick my butt.